Actually, that was really good that I had to play by myself. I had to play a solo. It's like, then it's out there. I'm Noah Bendix-Balgley, and this is Living the Classical Life.
Welcome to Living the Classical Life.
Great to be here, great to see you on this side of the ocean.
You're coming here to Berlin, and you realize that, oh wow, I'm the concertmaster of the Berlin Philharmonic, and you grew up having collected and heard all those recordings. I mean, how does that work? How long does it take to feel like you're part of an ensemble and comfortable?
I think in any ensemble it takes a long time, and regardless, even if one is, at the top level of instrumental capability and everything, and especially as an ensemble with strong character and strong sound and opinion. So I had my experience from Pittsburgh, which was very good. I played a lot of the big repertoire as the concertmaster there, a lot of the big solos, solo with the orchestra, and I felt good about what I was doing there. And I tried, I remember actually the first program I played here was October of 2014 with Andres Nelson's, and the big piece on the program was Also sprach Zarathustra. So nice little light thing to start off with one of the really nasty, uncomfortable solos in it. To me, almost more uncomfortable than Ein Heldenleben. So that was the first week I was playing here, and I remember I was kind of trying to over-prepare. I really practiced it. I'd played it before in Pittsburgh, and then I was listening to all the recordings of, with Svalbard playing it with Karajan, and then, from the Digital Concert Hall in the last few years of my, now colleague Daniel Stabrova and Guy Bronstein, this and that, and seeing, what they do here and there, and I think probably really overanalyzing what I was going to do. And then we started playing the rehearsal, and the solo comes up, and I play, and I was pretty nervous. I think maybe even more nervous than the audition itself.
Really?
Because it's the strange, well, let me just take a step back. The interesting thing about the audition here is really it's just an audition. It's just one day. There was no trial week after or second audition or so forth. When I came and auditioned, it was over after, in the afternoon of that day. And then, I became one of the concertmasters on trial, of course. And that's the thing, is that, to the whole wide world, everybody says, oh my God, you won this great position. You come here and, you're just on trial. We have a 2-year trial period for every new member. And everybody has to go through that, and that's the time when the orchestra and whoever the new member is, you figure out whether it's really going to work. And so, I imagine everybody else in the orchestra, some of them were at my audition, maybe some of them weren't, and they're like, okay, there's this new kid in there, let's see what he does. And so there's this big element of mystery, but also sort of a certain skepticism of whether it's really going to be what's going to happen.
Well, right. I mean, isn't that more than just a little intimidating?
Well, it's certainly nerve-wracking, yeah. I mean, one of the things I learned was, looking back, was actually, for example, that first week where I had a big solo with Also sprach Zarathustra. Actually, that was really good that I had to play by myself. I had to play a solo. It's like, then it's out there. You can't sort of tiptoe around it.
Yeah.
as soon as you have a big thing like that to play, you got to show your cards, and either they like it or they don't. But it's not, to me, it's almost more unnerving when you're trying to fit into the section, or you just have little tiny places to show your ideas and your character, and rather than just coming out and playing it. And so that became pretty clear to me early on that, of course, I'm adjusting to the style of playing here, how rehearsals work, all those kind of things, which is quite different than my experience in Pittsburgh. But became clear that in this position, in the end, I just have to go with my gut of what this is. They liked it enough to hire me at the audition, and so I have to keep going with that. And of course, I'm sure my playing changed dramatically during that trial period as I got used to certain traditions here, certain ways of approaching things, needing to adjust my leadership approach to the different orchestra, to the different people that are around me. So that, of course, was happening all along.
So I'm curious about process, and if there is, if you will, a mindset for success with the orchestral audition process. I have a lot of colleagues and friends who have truly been on this circuit for years.
It's a very high-stress situation. It's very sort of anti-musical in some way, that you're put in this situation where you're playing a tiny excerpt from whatever it is, a concerto or a symphony, and from that, we're judging your entire musical personality, your entire instrumental capabilities, and that's not very natural. And also, it doesn't feel like you're playing for an audience, and so many parts of that process are somehow leagues away from what we really want to be doing, which is going in front of an audience and playing music that we love. So that's the thing that I try to get back to. If there's any way that audition stage can be like a concert.
I'm exploring the idea of how artistic growth happens at this level. Most people would say, okay, that's the top. That's the Berlin Philharmonic. Mm-hmm. But obviously there are new impressions that you're assimilating along the way. And if we can use an example perhaps outside of the orchestra to be able to speak more freely, have there been important musicians to you personally with whom you've collaborated that you were on stage and you felt suddenly, this is a new way of making music. I didn't know that this was possible. This is exciting. Now I have to rethink everything. Has that ever happened to you?
I mean, yeah, that's always the greatest moment in a collaboration, that a colleague or somebody you look up to does something and you think, wow, that's really awesome. I mean, I was just thinking, because we both know him, of Franklin Cohen, the clarinetist, and the first time playing the Mozart clarinet quintet with him, and he has such a individual, beautiful, free way of approaching this piece, and it's a piece I'd played a number of times before. I played it with him at festivals, still as a student and such. And I remember playing with him, and I was just, my mind was blown how free and expressive he could be in music that I love, and I always try to play in a free way. And but I think I've always been a little bit bound by the traditions and the sense that there's a right way to play Mozart, and you better not get too far away from that. And with Frank, it was like in the slow movement, and some of the things he did are so earnest, so heartfelt, and so free. I don't know. I just, that was one of those experiences I felt really eye-opening. And and the other thing about it, you know him too, is to think this is a piece that he's probably played, who knows, 500 times, 700 times in his life with everybody. This is one of the standards that every great clarinetist plays, and to see his curiosity to keep discovering something new and try a different way of ending that phrase or doing the repeat, and I'm just blown away by that kind of artistic dedication and curiosity.
Have you always more or less felt on top of your game? I'm thinking about my various colleagues who will find themselves in a slump inevitably from time to time. How do you get yourself out of that?
There are definitely days when I feel like my practicing is going in the wrong direction, or there's some technical thing that's now is not working and it used to work, or a piece has gotten stale and I'm not sure how to kind of re-energize it. Yeah, that happens very often. I mean, for me, practicing is a very challenging thing. It's the most challenging to really be able to look objectively at what I'm doing myself and then make it better without either beating myself up and saying it's so horrible, or without being overly optimistic that it's great. That line is very, very fine, that to be able to teach yourself, and that's what practicing is about. So it's very easy to get into sort of a rut with that, and to find the way out is tricky. And I think again it comes to finding an artistic spark, something that speaks to me. You know, so in certain days it's really just working on the sound that I'm creating, and whether that's really speaking to me and speaking to what the music needs there. Other days, other days will be a technique day. Other days I'm really enjoying really just working some technical thing, whether it's open strings or double stops. Other days, I mean, nowadays I mix it up a lot. Some days I'll just actually read some music without thinking too much whether it's working or not. And sometimes, I have a practice session where I really just have to get through a whole stack of things and program the notes into the computer, so to say. So it really varies depending on what's going on in my schedule, what's coming up. The one part of my looking for different creative sources and inspirations. I mean, we talked about this a little bit beforehand, but is this connection with Klezmer music and Jewish folk music. And so I've done various things to bring those worlds together, the classical and the Klezmer. One of which I composed this violin concerto in the Klezmer style. And I play this repertoire I was talking about from the Russian St. Petersburg School of Jewish Folk Music. So that's an ongoing thing, and I have a few new projects in that direction as well. I'm doing my a chamber orchestra version of my violin concerto in the fall, and some other times after that, and doing that in a program of sort of folk and dance influenced music that I'm going to play direct. So that's something I'm looking forward to, and I'm developing a program together with a Klezmer musician who I admire very much, named Alan Byrne. He's a accordionist and pianist, also classically trained pianist. And we played a bunch of Klezmer together, some of his works, and so we're coming up with a program of real traditional Klezmer music, as well as these Russian Jewish pieces, as well as some new things we come up with. So that's something also on the horizon. For me, that's always really fun to explore that aspect of things. So and keep it. I mean, the thing about that music is the improvisatory element is so important, and that helps me maybe free up when I am doing the more sort of structured classical repertoire, what's exactly on the page. And so bringing those things together is always a lot of fun, and it keeps me motivated well.
Noah, thank you so much for being here. It's been a real delight to finally have you on the show.
Thanks. Great to talk to you.
Thanks.